was gonna say, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a zoo in China, but I went to 2 different zoos in mainland China. One was in Beijing and one was in Lhasa, and both of them were pretty awful. The Lhasa one was terrifyingly poor conditions, and they weren't panda bears, they were black bears, and they were in a concrete pit that was maybe.
Please, Matt, bear of color. Thank you.
It was like a 10 by 10 meter pit that was sunk maybe 5 meters down. Let's call them yards because this is America. And it was just a concrete floor with a couple like semicircular pits dug into it. There was no vegetation. There was no like water. Like, it was so weird and kind of just awful to see these animals stored essentially in these like concrete cases. And so that's my impression of zoos in China. And
Did they look happy, the animals?
They looked absolutely miserable.
I mean, I have to say,
all the animals in the zoo looked miserable. The monkeys were like playing in this like dirty fountain with trash that people had thrown in, and there was no effort to clean it up. It was just, there was feces everywhere. It was really bad. Like, I couldn't believe the conditions that they put animals in.
I remember years ago, we did an episode about like the wild world of Chinese zoos. I think that's what the episode was called. And it's like a compilation of all these horrible instances. There was like some zoo where they like put like some monkeys and maybe a tiger or a bear on like little tricycles and had them race.
Yeah, I've seen the tricycle bear
And
thing.
then obviously the predator jumps off and eats the monkeys.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, the one in Beijing was less bad, but it was still not even on par with the quality in terms of treating animals with dignity. There's nothing comes close to the American zoos.
I mean, I think the pandas get treated a little better because they are, the original Belt and Road Initiative soft power thing that they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you talked about the concrete pits, have you seen parks in China?
Yes, they're concrete pits.
It's not a country that prizes vegetation.
All animals are equal in China.
Well, they don't have a lot of grass in the parks because I think the government thinks there are too many people and they would just wreck the grass anyway. So why bother?
Well, I mean, also in the Cultural Revolution, they said grass was bourgeois, and they sent the kids out to rip up the grass instead of going to school.
Actually,
and it kept growing back.
There was a university I was touring in Beijing, the Beijing Normal University, and they had grass, and it was actually very lush, but no students were like walking or sitting on the grass because they felt like they were not allowed to do that. I'm not sure if it was a rule or what, but like it was pretty weird, and no one hung out on grass.
And it's the normal university, you say?
It was the Normal University, for training normal people to be teachers.
A normal communist. That's an oxymoron.
I mean, there is that thing in communist like architecture where they do prize these like giant concrete squares.
The kind of
right?
brutalism thing. There's a lot of that in Boston, right? I seem to remember
there?
seeing like giant concrete boxes in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. There's also, it's not just the aesthetic though; it's also the economics of it. At a certain point, when you're doing mass construction of like large apartment units, this sort of steel, rebar, and concrete structure is like, it's inexpensive and it's low maintenance. You don't even have to paint it.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of like Red Square and like Tiananmen Square, like the idea that there's something majestic about these giant open squares so that you can parade your armies through them.
Oh, you don't mean the buildings. You mean the
Yeah.
actual just flat. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking about concrete parks, basically.
Yeah. I haven't been to Red Square, but Tiananmen Square is, I mean, it's really huge. Like even to cross like the short way is like, at least a 10-minute walk. Like it's really probably more now with all the fencing they put up. It's a lot of concrete.
Well, I think that's a great transition into to one of our actual topics. And we can forget about pandas, that they exist.
I'm not going to forget about pandas.
You keep those thoughts to yourself.
I actually feel bad for the pandas.
Oh, we're still talking about the pandas.
Because, I mean, essentially they are kind of, maybe it's because I'm Chinese American that I feel this affinity with the pandas.
They're being used as pandas.
I like that.
Okay.
I know, I like that.
If it made Chris like it better, it made me like it worse.
Pandas. I like that. Let's use that in an
T-shirts.
episode. They're pandas. Let's make a T-shirt with a panda and like in big angry red letters.
Would you buy that T-shirt? Please comment below. No, I was gonna say, but it is almost emblematic, the soft power fail of like them taking back the pandas in a kind of it seems like this kind of like we're taking our toys and going home kind of way that uh, kind of is what's going on with the CCP generally in the world now.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a huge shift in how people view the Chinese Communist Party. It just came out that, like, for the first time since they were keeping track of the data in 1998, that foreign investment in China has actually gone into the negative. That's a pretty huge shift. I mean, we've been encouraging that for 11 years, and finally,
You mean we on our shows have been encouraging that?
yes,
Yes. And finally, they're not listening to us, but the economic and political factors are pushing them out nonetheless.
I'd like to think they're listening to us.
Okay.
It's
Thank you for
because of
listening,
us, yes.
CEO of BlackRock. And
I mean, there are also the CEO of BlackRock is in some danger of being kidnapped when he's in China now. So not maybe the CEO of BlackRock, but definitely some lower level executives of BlackRock might.
For sure, yeah,
Yeah.
with their new their updated anti-espionage law. Yeah, this is the thing. More and more employees of foreign companies are being, if not arrested, exit banned, so they can't leave the country. Yeah, people are freaking out. There's lots of raids happening in companies. It's a bad time.
So maybe if foreign executives don't want to go make money in China, that's again not going to be that conducive to, all this foreign direct investment anymore.
Yeah. Well, and so the transition I was going to make when we were talking about all those concrete buildings is like how China is dealing with this new economic reality. And one of the things that's happening is they're trying to basically like dump like steel and all these construction products on the market.
Also,
right, they want to export their way out of a recession.
Yeah.
which is
Thank you.
essentially what they've tried to do multiple times before. It's not a new thing, but this time
It's literally trying to dig your way out of a hole.
this time they might not be able to do it though. There was a Wall Street Journal article called "China's Making Too Much Stuff and Other Countries Are Worried," which at first I read the title and I was like, okay, and this is news to who? But apparently, like you said, they're doing it even more now because of the economic downturn.
Hmm.
And steel, also EVs and cars in general, not just electric vehicles,
Solar panels.
wind turbines, like renewable
Yeah.
energy stuff, all the stuff that the Chinese government was essentially pushing businesses to get into in China. And then now they have all this excess capacity because nobody's going to buy all the stuff in China. So they're trying to dump the products overseas by cutting their prices. But now, like, the European Union is investigating, like, using like anti-probe investigations against their, electric vehicle exports to Europe and different things. Like, countries aren't happy about this.
Yeah, some of their tariffs are over 100%. That is, you're paying more than double because of the to get the imported Chinese stuff. Whereas typically tariffs are less than 10%, right?
But
for
they're
other countries.
more than 100%
because the prices are so low. What would the Chinese government subsidizing these companies? Like, let's say an electric vehicle, a Chinese electric vehicle is worth 20,000 euros or something, right? But the essentially the Chinese exports are being priced at, say, 10,000 euros when they enter. So that's going to undercut any kind of European local manufacturing, right? And so then you add a tariff. So I think it was like 122%, something like that. So now instead of paying 10,000, which is the price that China's offering to undercut the market, you now have to pay $20,440. Did I get that right? Yeah, for that car. So now it's not worth it to buy that car. I mean, it might be worth it if you really want a Chinese electric vehicle for some reason, and still they are cheap for a reason,
Explosions.
Well, I mean, there's more to that than just the price savings. But at any rate, in terms of the tariffs, that has a huge impact, right? And they're doing this with a number of products. So basically, it stops. It basically makes all of the subsidized product dumping like not worthwhile for the Chinese government to do because consumers aren't going to buy it at higher rates.
Well, what I was thinking is that when we've been talking about decoupling of, recently, right, about how, foreign companies are looking at pulling out of China and we're looking at doing less trade, it's almost like the CCP is accidentally making this problem worse for themselves by dumping.